Plus, the rising tensions between the U.S. and Russia. President Obama responding to Russia's alleged interference with the U.S. election process, promising to retaliate. In a press briefing yesterday, spokesperson Josh Earnest pointed to the United States' ability to respond.
The United States retains significant, extensive cyber capabilities that exceed the capabilities that are wielded by any other country in the world. There are a range of proportional responses that the President and his team believe would be an appropriate response.
I want to bring in Ambassador John Bolton. He is former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations and a Fox News contributor. Ambassador, good to see you.
Glad to be with you.
You know, I almost hate asking this first question because I don't want to give it any credence. I think it's such nonsense that the Russians actually affected our election. But obviously, President Obama is now talking about the Russians hacking. They've been doing it for years. How come he's all upset about it now and he says he's going to do something about it, finally?
Well, this thing is such a mess, it just is almost impossible to know where to begin. Russia, China, Iran, North Korea have been conducting cyber espionage and cyber warfare against us for 8 years or more, and our response throughout has been inadequate. So to say now, finally, somebody's gotten the President's attention is, I guess, better late than never. But I think this whole issue has become so politicized that, frankly, I don't think you can take at face value anything that he, Secretary of State Kerry, the press flack at the White House, or anybody else says on it. I don't think we're going to get straight answers until after the 20th of January. It's why I thought we need the congressional investigations to go forward, and why I've said this before, but I view it increasingly as the man on whom the spotlight will focus will be Mike Pompeo when he's confirmed at the CIA, to say what exactly this evidence shows.
Ambassador Bolton, it's Dagan McDowell. Should the White House, should the government have done more, given what we know about Russia hacking the DNC, for example? Because the White House is saying that President Obama not only complained of Vladimir Putin to his face in September, but that he warned him of consequences. And then we did have James Clapper, who came out, the Director of National Intelligence, and did blame Russia on October 7th. But leading up to the election, should Washington have done more?
Well, who believes anything that Obama says? You know, was it another red line, or was this a pink line, or kind of a mauve line? I mean, the fact is the President has, by his inaction with respect to Russian military aggression in Ukraine, and the weak and inadequate sanctions that were imposed, his inability to draw the line with Russia building a new air base in Latakia in Syria, and on and on and on. You know, the one thing that Obama has said that the Russians remember was during the famous off-mic comment to former Russian President Medvedev during the campaign, when Obama said to Medvedev, "You tell Vladimir after the election I can be more flexible." That's the one message that they've understood. And, you know, until that the occupant of the Oval Office changes, nothing in Russian behavior is going to change.
So one of my questions, I feel like this is like the Goldilocks treatment of Russia. Some people are like, you're too hard on it. Others are saying you're too soft on it. And there's so much criticism on everybody's position on it. What do you think the right thing to do is to get this under control?
Well, and let me say, I've spoken to a number of Republican senators, plural, in the past 2 days, who have actually looked at the intelligence. And they do believe that it was the Russian government that did it. I haven't looked at the intelligence, neither have any of you.
Did what, Ambassador?
We're engaged in these hacks that we've been talking about against the DNC and against the others. Now, it's not clear, and in fact you can probably say with some confidence, that it didn't affect the election. But let me put this question to you. If Japan had attacked Pearl Harbor on December the 7th, 1941, none of its bombs had hit, all of its torpedoes had missed, no Americans were killed or wounded, and none of our ships were sunk, would we just say, oh, well, no harm, no foul, we'll just forget about it? Of course not. It was an act of war. And if, in fact, the Russians have done this, added together with everything else they've done, This isn't something to walk away from. This is an assault on the Constitution. And it's not, and you know, the White House, they just can't get it right. Josh Earnest says, well, we can engage in proportional response. That's the wrong answer.
Right.
The right answer is to respond in a way that makes it absolutely clear that we do not accept this, that we will impose pain on Russia every time they do it in an effort to reestablish structures of deterrence that Obama has allowed to disintegrate over the 8 years in office. We're not looking for conflict with Russia, but weak, inadequate responses, and particularly proportional responses, just encourage Putin to keep going.
Yeah, but we need to separate. I mean, if Russia has been hacking the U.S. for years, then that's one story. But to say that Russia had anything to do with the election, I mean,
no,
by the way,
Maria,
we also
honestly,
had Julian Assange on last night. Okay, he joined Sean Hannity. And I don't know if you could believe Julian Assange.
Of course you can't believe Julian Assange.
Exactly. But he did say it wasn't the Russians. We got it from a DNC insider.
No, that's not what he said. What he said was it wasn't the Russian government. Now, this is like a Bill Clinton question. How do you define Russian government? Was it something close to the Russian government?
He said it was DNC insiders, Ambassador.
Yeah. You know, it could. I don't. Julian Assange is a threat to the United States. Yeah. Okay. I'd retaliate against WikiLeaks too. I've said that before.
They also tried to infiltrate the Republican National Committee computer, right? Although we're understand that those attempts were denied, according to the Journal this morning. And then there's this Trump tweeting about it a minute ago. He says, "Are we talking about the same cyber attack where it was revealed that the head of the DNC illegally gave Hillary the questions to the debate?" So Trump just tweeted that. What does this denied hacking attempt say about the DNC, since their computer networks were reportedly hacked and attacked at the same way?
Well, I don't doubt that that somebody hacked into the DNC. Without seeing the intelligence, none of us can say for certain who it was. Reports that the RNC, that there was an attempted hack against the RNC, although apparently, according to the report, not as vigorous as against the DNC, nonetheless shows that somebody was out to have some impact on our election. And this is unacceptable. It is unacceptable to steal property, destroy property, which is what these hacks are intended to do. And I just think, I just don't think we've got the straight story out there from anybody. I think the president has so politicized our intelligence community. I think he's done grave damage to the country by the way he's approached this.
All right, so what should Trump do? What should Trump do, Ambassador?
Look, that's why I think the congressional investigations make a lot of sense. And as I said a moment ago, I think you've got a new team coming in, somebody like Pompeo, who's a solid conservative, respected on both sides of the aisle. He needs to go into the CIA and say, I want to know from A to Z what happened here. And then he's got to make a decision. Was it the Russians? Was it somebody else? And that's the only, we have got to restore confidence in the intelligence agencies. It's been so undermined by Obama that, that I'm very worried about how this goes ahead.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.